What is up, LudyBros Army? It's your boy, Big Bro Lamar Ludy, and I'm coming to you guys today to bring a little more basketball content. I wanted to take a look at the Brooklyn Nets, but before we get too deep into this topic, let's go ahead and take care of our YouTube business. If you can, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Please turn on the notification bell, leave a like, leave a comment. I'm going to be going through a few of these NBA teams. If you have a team that I don't hit on, why don't you go ahead, let me know that you want me to talk about them. I watch a lot of basketball. I watch a lot of games just about every single night, and I can try and sit down and break down your team and their chances heading into the second half of the season. But let's go ahead and talk about the Brooklyn Nets. So once they made that trade for James Harden, that looks like it's going to be it. It looks like it's going to be it for the NBA. They have a big three of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. And a lot of the basketball experts have, really given them the crown, especially to at least come out of the Eastern Conference and challenge for the NBA title. Upon watching them play, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at this through a different lens. Now, talent-wise, that big three, it's probably the most talented, collection of players in the NBA, especially when they're all healthy, when they're clicking on all cylinders, especially on the offensive end. There's not really anybody who's going to be able to stand up to the likes of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. James Harden and Durant, they're both MVP players. Kyrie Irving, he's an MVP talent. We've seen titles won by both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But the thing that's standing out to me for these guys isn't necessarily any issues on the offensive end, although that is going to be something I touch upon later in this video. But a problem is on the defensive end. They don't play any defense, really. Now, you just need to lock in and get one stop, some people might say, or, well, they're not going to be in games that are close enough to have to get that stop. But let's be real, when it gets down to playoff time, you have to be able to play some defense in a 7-game series. And the game is going to slow down. The points are going to be a little bit more difficult to get. It's going to be hard for you to lock in defensively when when you've got James Harden and Kyrie on your team. Kevin Durant isn't necessarily a lockdown defender, although his length does make it easier for him to guard most people. But to say that, any of those guys is a lockdown defender, especially James Harden, that's going to be a stretch of the imagination. This team is coached by Steve Nash, whose assistant coach is Mike D'Antoni. We know for a fact, for years now, close to a couple decades now, if you're an NBA student of the NBA, you know that those guys are not preaching any sort of defense in the locker room. There's actually a lot of times where I've seen instances where the Nets are going in 7 seconds or less. They're coming down, they're getting a high percentage shot, but they're doing it almost the same as the Phoenix Suns used to do when Steve Nash was leading the offense as the point guard there. Now, those teams, which were led by Steve Nash, they were able to come out, they were able to have a lot of success. They won a lot of games in the regular season. And, I think they did make it to the Western Conference Finals, if I remember correctly, one time. But that's it. They never played for an NBA title. And the reason for that is because you do have to be able to lock in defensively, get stops when you need to. The game's going to slow down. And I think that's going to be one hurdle for these Nets as constructed to face come playoff time when we hit the playoffs. The Nets are going to make the playoffs. There's no question about that. So this video is more in regards to them as potentially, challenging for the title. Now, another issue that I have with the Nets is they're very injury prone. We're seeing right now Kevin Durant is out with a hamstring issue. Kyrie Irving missed the last game that I sat down to watch of the Nets. So James Harden was out there by himself. If any of those guys miss any extended time during the playoffs, that's going to be very detrimental to what they're trying to do as far as winning a title. You cannot have any of this three-headed monster missing. If Kevin Durant's out and you just have Harden and Kyrie, it's not going to work. If it's just Kyrie and Kevin Durant alone, I don't think that's going to be enough firepower, because not only are these guys, a little light on the defensive end, they're in dead last on rebounding. Those are two areas where you have to produce if you're trying to win a championship. You've got to be able to defensive rebound. You got to be able to play defense. So we'll see how this is going to turn out for them. The injury bug, if it bites the Nets, I mean, and the same can hold true for any team. But the issue is that I've seen Kyrie miss a lot of games. Kevin Durant's coming back off the Achilles injury. Now, he has been looking good. He's been looking like an MVP candidate. So he's looking good coming back off the Achilles. I'm glad for that. I never want to see a player's career cut short due to injury. So I am happy that he's come back and still been able to play at a very high level. But if that injury bug hits this team, I don't think that the two-thirds of their superstar big three is going to be enough to come out of the East or to win the title. Now, a couple of issues that I have with this team, a couple of question marks that I have with them, and like I said, I know that this is not the popular opinion. Everybody says, "Oh, this is the team, the team to beat." But the thing is that the way that they're constructed, and this is a very unpopular opinion, but the way that they're constructed with James Harden, James Harden as the leader of the Houston Rockets, when it came time in the playoffs, he did not step up. He had some of the worst playoff performances we've seen of an MVP caliber player in those Game 7s back when he was playing for the Houston Rockets. Kyrie Irving, for example, let's remember back before LeBron came to help him, get to a title, Kyrie was also missing a lot of games, not fully able to put it together. Then he came over to Boston, so I'm very well versed on this. He came to Boston, and he was a cancer in the locker room. Now, when there was issues with him even at the beginning of this season, missing games, not being respectful of Steve Nash as the head coach and his position. He has locker room issues. Now, I know a lot of people are going to turn around and say, well, I hear that he's great in the locker room, but those are the types of things that you don't want to have when you're trying to win a title, or issues like that. Now, could they all have been squashed? Possibly. He reached out to James Harden and told him that he was going to be the point guard and that Kyrie wanted to play the two, and that seems to be working very well. James Harden is, I believe, leading the league in assists right now. So all that is working out very well. But the thing is that Kevin Durant's not there. When Kevin Durant gets back, there's one basketball that you're going to have to work around. And these guys are a little different. The big three of Klay Thompson, Curry, and Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, worked over in Golden State. The attitude of Klay and Curry is different from the attitude of Harden and Kyrie. It's a different mindset those guys have, where it's much more system over there versus what we've seen from Kyrie and James Harden when it comes to how they want the ball and how they want to be used in an offense. So that's what I'm saying could be a potential problem, is the mindset of these three guys. Now, I don't know if Kevin Durant is the leader. If Kevin Durant is the leader and he's got them buying into what his vision for this team, if that's going to be enough to get them over the hump. But when Kevin Durant was playing for the Warriors, I didn't view him as the leader of that team. I mean, as a matter of fact, if he's the leader, he wouldn't have been ran out by Draymond Green. And back when he was playing with Russell Westbrook in OKC, once again, I can't quite view him as the leader of the team because Russell Westbrook was doing whatever Russell Westbrook wanted to do. And I know that's, something that I've always said about him, is that he's always going to do what he does. And we're still seeing that even to this day with him over in Washington. But I'm just wondering about the true leadership of Kevin Durant. If this is his team, is he going to be able to get James Harden and Kyrie to buy into his message? Will all three of their egos be able to mesh when crunch time happens? It's one thing to do it during the regular season. It's another thing to do it when only two of the three are out there because of injury. When pressure hits the fan, when you've got, tough playoff opponents that are matched up against you in a 7-game series, are you still going to be able to produce? And that's my question for the New Jersey Nets, and why I'm not 100% sold on them coming out of the East. Defense, you got to be able to rebound. And will the egos be able to mesh when their backs are against the wall? You can come out and score a bunch of points. That's true. And hey, maybe we'll see it. I mean, I never believed that we would see a jump shooting team win the title, which, happened a couple of times with the Warriors. This might happen here, where now we've got a team that's, last in defense and last in rebounding, and they're still able to win the title based off of their offensive firepower alone. So that would be, very interesting for me to see. But what do you think? What do you think about the Brooklyn Nets? Do you think that they're the team to beat? Do you think they're the favorite to come out of the East, and are they the favorite to win the title this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to get some NBA talk going with you guys. And once again, if you have a team that you want me to take a deep look at, I have a couple others on my list that I'm going to be going over in the next couple days. But if you have a team that you want me to take a look at, let me know what it is in the comments below, and I'll check them out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.